Audio check, sound check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Audio check. Good evening and good morning to all of you. This is your trainer here. We are now ready to start. In tonight's session on the HANA overview for the first session for the training program, we will be going for the basics. Certain basic terminologies, components, and HANA architecture. For all the participants, the recording of this session number 1 link will be available after the session tonight. And for those participants who have enrolled, you will also receive the recording, and I believe after the session from tomorrow, I think you will have the access with the organizer access on the GoToWebinar, go to the meeting link where you can record the lectures sessions at your local computers. Now, during the session, if you have questions, you can use the questions box, just like the demo, and you will have the option to click on raise hand once we open for questions and answers towards after hour and a half. The study materials, as you would see on the screens, the slideshows, Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, other PowerPoint presentation slides, or any other document in PDF that we share on the screen will be available to you in a separate link for downloads. The documents will be sent by the training team and support staff. Will help you with technical difficulties during the training program. All right, so we are ready to start. Welcome everyone to the session number 1 on HANA SP8. The SP8 stands for Support Pack number 8. It is the GA, which is the globally available revision number for HANA, today the latest. And this is currently being implemented by few advanced customers, just like what we have in Microsoft product portfolios, where you have Microsoft Office 2003, and then you have 2010, and then you have the new versions. So likewise in HANA as well, there are multiple functionalities that are added in support pack levels. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we are on 8 today in 2014. SP9 is getting prepared and should be released in a couple of months. There's still not official confirmation as of yet. HANA version remains 1.0, and you have multiple support packs that are implemented by customers today. It could be support pack 4, 5, 7, 6, or 8. In majority of the implementations in SAP HANA, there is a support pack strategy being implemented by a lot of customers going live on their production systems. We will also learn those strategies with our POC in this program. So the first thing first is to go with the slideshow and then to be able to gather some basics. So we start with the acronym full form of HANA, which stands for High Performance Analytical Appliance. So HANA is a hardware device which comprises of a series of memory modules, or blades that we call it today, and is powered by RAM for in-memory computing, in-memory database concept. So it's first an appliance. It is not a software solution. It is not a software program. It is a hardware device. Later we will be able to show you some of the pictures of how the enterprise server of HANA look like with the drive electronics of that appliance. So first is HANA hardware device, and it offers a lot of solution from a business standpoint. It also offers landscape solutions for applications to be connected on it. Therefore, it is an appliance that offers a complete platform for OLTP systems, the online transaction processing systems, and the reporting systems together with data modeling, data mining, data warehousing, and a lot of other transactional processes. So it accelerates existing infrastructure of the customer ecosystem, and we will learn where the use cases could be applied. The SAP HANA was released in 2010, by the end of 2010, but not officially available for customers to implement. 2010 was the time that we have SP's 00. 2011, the first half of the year 2011, was the time when HANA was officially released with support pack 01 for customers to implement. Today, in 2014, we are on SP8. There's also a small matrix that will help us to identify what is the support pack number of the HANA system that we're working on. There is a relationship between revision numbers and support pack number for the same version 1.0. As we proceed with more advanced details, we will be able to relate and identify what is the support pack of that HANA system. If you're a basis administrator or a DBA or a consultant working together with the administration and also the application consulting side, this will also help you to collaborate together with the application development, data modeling, reporting, security, transport management, and the overall administration of the implementation. The HANA also, the name HANA also coincides with another name of an island in Hawaii. Some of us may have visited, but for all of us, it also coincides with the name of an island in the Hawaii Islands. The primary data scientist, or the vision behind this HANA, was given by Dr. Hasso-Plattner. Dr. Hasso-Plattner is the primary data scientist who has given this terminology the vision and the futuristic appliance for the organizations who wants to run their operations faster, run their analytics faster with big data. Every year in HANA Island, There is an innovation platform meet with all the group of data scientists from SAP, from Sybase, and various other database platform and BI platforms. HANA is a result of the acquisition of Sybase incorporation by SAP. Some of us may have heard about Sybase company, Sybase Corporation, who primarily provides DBMS and RDBMS database systems. And Sybase earlier in 2004 to 2006, in those couple of years, they were coming up with a new prototype where they can put a slice of data onto the RAM and make it run faster. By the time 2004-2006, SAP already had matured solutions where they can run BW accelerator queries of the BI, SAP BI, and various other cubes on the slice of that memory module. So SAP started to help and collaborate Sybase. By 2006, 2007, 2008, they were already able to build that prototype with SAP software programs and Sybase hardware systems together. And by 2010, SAP acquired Sybase. 2010, when we have SP008 HANA, and 2011, when HANA was officially released. All right. So that's the small basics on the HANA. It could be one of the discussion questions in your interview. We're still on slide number 1. And the reason why we go with the basics is to get the awareness where HANA started from. A lot of consultants go into these systems directly, but we all also require to understand where it's coming from. Okay, so we move on to the slideshows. My name is Param, and I will be your trainer for the rest of the training programs on SAP HANA. I'm HANA certified at the associate level, technical level, and the professional level. I'm also certified in other SAP products. I'm also working with the SAP Education Services and SAP Labs to develop new Dimension products. So far, we were able to release SAP Design Studio and SAP Visual Intelligence, which is now called as SAP Lumira. I was also an auditor for multiple consulting firms and the Center of Excellence Partner Service Advisory Services for SAP. I've completed 11 projects in SAP HANA, and you can see 9 projects listed here. The rest of the other have an NDA, so I cannot disclose the client name, but we can learn about the methodology of the implementation, the troubleshooting that we did, and the best practices that were prescribed to those customers. You can also look into the links given here for some of the articles and white papers, and you can see the Forbes magazine publication 2012 and the award that I received in 2012 for COPA Accelerator. Currently also pursuing my PhD in in-memory database with computing engine for big data systems from SAP University Alliance in Germany. You'll be able to connect with the training team for further details about the profiles. Okay, so we move on to the basic definition of what is big data. The reason why we start with big data is to come up with the gap that a lot of industries today especially who have implemented advanced IT systems and IT infrastructure, they have a primary pain point, which is where the data grows over a period of time, but they're able to store it, but they're not able to retrieve it on time. So there is a gap being identified, and that gap is the big data analytics that we have today. So organizations and companies and enterprises who have implemented IT systems earlier over the past 2 decades have gathered a lot of data with huge volume of data sets. And when we want to go back there and run pattern analysis, trend analytics, etc., the systems are no good. Let's take an example. Some of us may have run a query or a report with, let's say, 300 million rows on the single report. We might have to wait or split the report into multiple portions and then export to Excel and create workbooks, right? So the end users have to wait for that big data analytics. SAP have already envisioned this particular gap. That's where they started to have the in-memory components already built in 2003, 4, and then acquired Sybase in 2010, and then have HANA as the first big data analytics that supports a lot of LOBs, line of businesses. So let's first understand the market definition of what is big data. As per Gartner, you can see here on the left-hand panel from Gartner, it says that big data is a high-volume data sets. So we're looking at anything above 5 terabytes of data. Technically speaking, anything above 5 terabytes of data is considered as a big data. There are also other small-medium businesses, small-medium enterprises, who also want to run HANA, as they expect to cross over 5 terabytes in the near future. So big data refers to high volume of data sets, around about 5 terabytes and above, high velocity where they need high speed information transfer. We're looking at real-time data reporting, so whatever changes happens in the POS system or changes that is committed to the database through multiple transactions need to be immediately reflected on the reporting. And high variety information sets, for example, cross information sets. Let's take an example that we're looking for a product ID, but we are not sure where the product is holed up because the product needs to be dispatched to for the consignment, and we need to find out where the product is holed up right now in real time. So we have to find the product, whether it's coming in from the storage location, whether it is holed up in the quality check, whether it is a hold up before the goods received in the dispatch hall. So high variety information is the cross module information. So to find a product, we have to find in the production, we have to find in inventory, to find in the dispatch distribution areas of the ERP system. So Gartner has given this concise definition, and it reflects what is big data. You also see Forrester, IBM, Oracle giving big data definitions. So today we have multiple big data providers. We look at Teradata, we look at IBM Netezza, we look at Oracle Exadata, Exalytics. These are all the other big data providers. But HANA stands out. HANA is the primary platform that also supports big data with real-time, with predictive, and the most important differentiator is business solutions. Already predefined business solutions. Other big data providers are considered as an empty box. Although you have Teradata much earlier. We have Exadata coming up from Oracle, Exalytics from Oracle, and of course other big data systems like Hadoop, MongoDB, right? They've given the infrastructure, but they are not able to bridge the business scenarios in line of business sector information or business content. SAP HANA has done their homework, and they're able to leverage from SAP NetWeaver BI from business content, and they've done some changes and they've given sector-related content. So a customer who wants to implement HANA need not build those solutions all the way from scratch and above. They can already implement those standard content, customize those, and go live with the deployment rather than building everything from ground up. That's what we do in other big data systems. So we'll also learn the difference between HANA with Hadoop and MongoDB and Teradata, those other details with small metrics that will also help us to have a larger outlook in this market space, the big data market space. Now, today, a lot of customers and enterprises with already their infrastructure and ecosystem running live have ERP, which is the systems of record, where they enter the data. Let's take an example. We walk into a bank, we want to run a couple of transactions. We can perform certain debit transactions and certain credit transactions and certain overdraft transactions. So when we walk into a bank, the bank representative will ask our customer ID, account number, and the other details that we want to perform. So they take our details and they run, check, verify, and everything okay. They allow us to do the transactions, and then they record those transactions in their systems of records. That system of record is their banking system ERP with the LOB, which stands for line of business. So here in this left portion of the screen, this is where the first data entry takes place, whether it is a bank, whether it's a telecom industry, whether it is a pharmaceutical company or chemicals company, consumer products, or defense company, for example. So the first entry of data takes place here in the systems of record. This is where you have the ERP systems running live with the line of business for that sector. Now that data is further connected to the analytic systems for the systems of engagement, which is used for reporting, which is used for decision making, and a lot of other derivation that we do out of that business analytics information. So data gets converted into the information with a lot of business rules, and then we derive information out of that. Now, we would also find a lot of customer companies also implementing mobile solutions or the smartphone solutions on their tablets. They want to see the reports, the dashboards in there, so it can connect with both ERP systems and analytics systems. This is what we have today. What we also have today is other traditional DBs, as we call it here, XDB or traditional DBs, like Oracle, SQL Server, DB2, etc., with the basic RDBMS and DBMS. Now, these traditional database systems are already able to provide the container to store all of these records, whether it is a record for the transaction that took place earlier, or the record for right now, real time, or maybe record for reporting. Yep. So when you have these data sets already available in these traditional database systems and want to run the data sets for the reporting purpose, maybe look at the last 5 months records and find out the behavior of the customers performing transactions in these sectors, for example. So these traditional databases are good for storing data, but they are no good for reporting on the real time, no good for reporting with larger data sets, anything above 1 million rows, well, we have to wait. So the end users do not want to wait any longer because the business demands faster reporting, faster decisions, and competitive advantage with that fast decisions. And of course, good impact on the stock market, etc. So HANA comes in here at the DB layer, here at the database layer. And this is where the gap was. We have a lot of softwares with a lot of ERP systems, reporting systems, analytics systems all together working as per the business requirements. But at the DB layer, we have database systems that is good for storing data, for write-intensive, but not good for read-intensive scenarios. We're looking for a system which is good for both the read and the write-intensive scenarios, and plus that supports big data, and the plus that supports real-time data sets, plus mining and other predictive analytics all together in one box. So this is where we are looking into a new information infrastructure shift at the DB as a platform. So the future of the service-oriented architecture of the ecosystem of a landscape will be all futuristic with these high-performing systems. HANA is the leader today in that space. So HANA is a DB platform and is an appliance that offers a database solution that also help and accelerate application systems and servers that run on top of it, like the ERP on HANA, or the BI on HANA, or the BO, the Business Objects Reporting, on top of HANA. So we can run multiple application instances directly on top of the HANA database platform. And there are multiple use cases that we will learn. So this is the first basic slide that will help us to visualize the ecosystem that is there currently in the customer landscape. Next, the future is to work with the read-intensive and write-intensive systems and not to work with the traditional systems from a SAP vision. So we're gonna we're gonna migrate or not use the other traditional systems, but we continue to use HANA and go with the acceleration and make those existing application servers and systems run faster and make it more powerful with this real-time platform with big data support and the new in-memory database concept. So HANA offers the platform, and the way it is built, or the construct of HANA, is on in-memory. So everything in HANA is on the RAM, on the primary memory of that system. Although there are multiple memory modules and there are multiple blades and multiple supercomputing processors that help to process and pre-process those big data sets. Data on the RAM does not mean that when you switch it off, the data will be erased. It's not that case here in HANA. It's a lot evolved. There are a lot of trials being conducted. And what we have in HANA is a mechanism where there is a switch over between multiple compartments, as we're going to learn tomorrow in our next session number 2, the architecture database process flow in next session. We will see the construct and the database architecture in much more details. For now, HANA is a master platform for a lot of applications to run faster and support big data. And for those customer companies who do not have big data but want to have real-time data, they go for HANA as well. And looking at the cost to the customer, today it's a lot cheaper because the RAM is a lot cheaper compared to the bulky hard disk drives. So if you want to check the price comparison, we will also have another slide. So let's take an example that we walk into a store. We want to buy a 1 terabyte space, whether it is a hard disk drive or a pen drive or the USB drives that we have, small ones. Now the 1 terabyte USB drive and the 1 terabyte hard disk bulky drive both can store 1 terabyte both, but if you compare the price, the RAM price is a lot cheaper, less bulky, and more flexible, and it still persists the data. It still renders the data in itself, even if you remove it. So you insert the USB, and then you copy movies and documents and remove it, keep it for 5 years, 10 years, and put it again, the data still persists. So even though that's a RAM built in the USB connector or USB drive or the pen drives, the RAM is a special evolved version of a RAM. It's called SSD, solid state disk. It's a special kind of a RAM that's able to store data permanently. And when you try to run those, it's a lot faster. But when you try to run multiple movies and copy multiple movies from a bulky hard disk drive, you'll see the disk vibrations and then sometimes CRC disk failures. So let's go into the basic of the primary difference between HANA DB structure and compare it with other traditional systems. All right, so I'm going to move into a blank screen, and let's go in here and directly draw on the screen for you. So let's split the screen to half here. On the left hand side, we're going to look at how the XDBs would work. XDBs are the traditional database systems or RDBMS systems. Let's look at Oracle, SQL, etc. compared together. So the traditional database systems have the container built with the RDBMS or DBMS concept, and there is a spinning disk right there with a certain RPM. Okay, so for example, you look at 1 terabyte, 1 TB of a space is going to spin around about 11,000 rotations per minute. That's the RPM, and that is fixed. For example, this is the number. So it's as good as you starting your desktop and you feel the vibrations where the starter programs are getting copied from the disk into the RAM. Right? Similarly, in larger systems, in larger servers, in enterprise servers, you have those bulky hard disk drives combined together in data center, and they provide the database platform. So they have a particular restriction or mechanical restriction on the number of rotations per minute for that space, 1 terabyte, etc., 2 terabytes, 100 terabytes, etc. So when we try to perform multiple read-intensive activities or transactions, so read-intensive arrow out from here and write-intensive arrow into here. So when you run multiple transactions with multiple users, running multiple reports and multiple operations, save, unsave, and doing a lot of transactions in that traditional DB, the RPM is always fixed. So when you try to run those multi-million rows for reporting and doing a lot of updates, it could sometimes be slower. That is what we have been experiencing so far with a lot of other legacy systems and DB platforms. We're looking at this slice of information with just 1 terabyte. However, we could be looking at 10 terabytes or 1 petabyte, etc. So because of the spinning disk, there is a lot of mechanical dependency, and therefore systems sometimes perform slower, although we may have applications running on that DB running faster or giving the business solution, but the business solution have to wait because the DB spins on a particular fixed RPM. In HANA, in HDB, onto the right hand side of the screen. We've got rid of, we removed the spinning disk concept, so it's a similar disk icon here, and it runs on the memory modules. So there is no spinning disk, and it's good for the write intensive and the read intensive scenarios both. And today we have over 100 petabytes, 100 exabytes support here in the HANA DB platform. And there is no mechanical dependency of the spinning disk because everything is on RAM. And RAM here means the SSD RAM. So RAM is the new disk today in the real-time analytics space in big data and other ecosystem. So RAM is the new disk, and RAM does not imply that when you store data and erase, or there is a power outage, or there is a system reboot, data will be erased. It's not here in HANA because this is a special kind of RAM, and it's powered by supercomputing processors, and there are a lot of other techniques that we will learn tomorrow of how it really runs those processes. So business today need not depend on anything here in terms of the rotations per minute or any CRC disk failures anymore. Business need not wait. There is no wait here with HANA. We get the result. We get the result set on time, on real time, as and when we need, on demand, and there is no waiting here. That's where HANA differentiates itself. Plus, HANA gives business content. So if you want to run the HANA solution for, let's say, a chemicals company, who is also the OEM, original equipment manufacturer, for certain chemical containers and certain equipments, and giving those, supplying those to other pharmaceutical companies, for example, pharma companies. So you have both these two LOBs supported in HANA. So if you're looking for buy and sell scenarios, it could be quite complex for supply chain management, product lifecycle management. SAP have those inbuilt. We'll also be able to check where it is in the HANA Studio tonight. So let's go out of this slide. This will give you the small basics of the difference with other DBs. In this slide, in the next one, this is the first renovative step, or we call it as a renovation step, on acquiring data from existing systems. Could be SAP, non-SAP, other DBs, or the flat files, or legacy systems. So we bring in those data, acquire and replicate those data, and store it in HANA, run those selective scenarios, and move it for the reporting. This particular process flow is implemented for POCs, proof of concepts, for native HANA use case, for test drives, and to check and confirm and run those scenarios where we want to really have faster analytics. A lot of customers will test drive with their scenarios, maybe a supply chain scenario, or inventory scenario, or dispatch with the logistics scenario, or maybe financial management scenario. So they replicate those selective scenarios data set into HANA from their legacy systems, maybe PI system, or DB systems, or ERP systems, etc., and create those data models and then check the performance before they actually move into the HANA implementation. So this is the first phase of the implementation, where we replicate, meaning we renovate the existing infrastructure with HANA, and selectively running test drives. In our project POC, we will also perform a similar step in replicating selective data sets from ERP for financial management with the sales and distribution details, and gather those revenues and KPIs from that scenario, and check and see how we can develop data models and run the report on a real-time basis. Now, in order to perform certain replication from these sources, also make sure that we have the connector available. So there are multiple connectors today for ETL tools, for database connector, and for other SAP and non-SAP systems or source systems or subsystems connector replicator options available. We will learn as we proceed. Now, from a project management perspective, we're looking into the phases of the implementation. You have the first, which is the renovation. So in the renovation phase, we bring in HANA and provide real-time operational analytics with selective scenarios. It is basically the native HANA use case. We also bring in the BobJ4 for the business objects reporting, and we have one of the benefits available, right, for real-time analytics. So when you find a customer saying, hey, we went live, we've gone live with HANA, it could be renovation, or it could be the innovation phase. Next phase of the innovation, the customer user will try and connect their application servers onto the HANA DB instead of the Oracle DB or SQL Server or DB2 database platform. So maybe they want to run the BI on HANA. Maybe they have other in-memory apps. We will see what these apps mean. And then the business suite running on HANA, maybe the ERP systems running on HANA or other third-party systems running on the HANA platform. Maybe mobile apps running on HANA. The BobJ BI getting further optimized for running on the HANA platform, and the industry and LOB specific contents already available here in the next phase of the project. The first phase of the project, the renovation phase, is generally around about 6 months to 10 months, so maybe a year, depending upon the complexity of the scenarios. The next phase, the innovation phase, it could be a little over a year, depending upon which application systems need to be connected into HANA. Let's say you have a ERP that wants to be connected into HANA, so we got to perform a DB migration and ERP connecting into HANA rather than ERP connecting onto Oracle, where we have those restriction on the RPM and CRC disk failures, etc. The third phase and the final phase of the transformation, where you will find customers, a couple of customers like Samsung, Apple. Apple is going live this month in December with new transformation features. Then we have BASF, a chemicals company. Then we have Bayer in Germany, Volvo, and British Petroleum, and a few other clients in Eastern Europe going live the transformation phase this year, this month. So in transformation, these guys are already matured with their HANA appliance, with the software solutions and also the business scenarios. They want to do more analytics on the HANA real-time. The predictive, the persistence for the business suite, optimization, and the further reduction in their landscape complexity. Coca-Cola company in the US, I believe some of us have worked there, have around about 21 source systems. out of which 11 source systems were connected into HANA last year. And all of them are non-SAP source systems. So any enterprise have a complex landscape with a lot of legacy systems there in between DB and the reporting. A lot of legacy systems directly at the reporting. A lot of legacy systems combined together for KPI consolidations. So with HANA, we can bring in all those together into one box, reduce the complexity, and maintain only one box rather than maintaining a lot of legacy, non-performing, and slow-performing systems. That's where we have a small or a new shift in the DB enhancements. Let's go to the next slide. Here we have a known fact that the price of the RAM is dropping in the way that it's becoming cheaper than the bulky hard disk drives. So in a year and a half, it's getting reduced by 30%. You can also check that if you compare the particular container. Let's say a bulky hard disk drive and USB drive. USB drive is a lot cheaper and faster, of course. So RAM is a new disk. This is what Gartner have to say about the HANA RAM, and then slowly you have other providers coming in with that concept. And the good news here is in HANA, these are all okay so far, that we have faster RAM and it supports a lot of activities. But the primary core and the kernel of the HANA is supercomputing processors from Intel. No other big data systems have this organized approach of constructing their DB and making their system available for the future. We're looking at 50 years and more. So we'll see the PAM, the product availability metrics, which will give us the other details about the basic construct and the CPU processors and the operating system of HANA. But before that, we will quickly recheck the architecture we've seen yesterday in the demo. And here we will go into the further details about the architecture. So we will connect in the first phase of the implementation to a lot of existing systems. It could be an SAP system or a non-SAP system, a DB system or an RDBMS, flat file, XML sources, machine level, other unstructured sources, maybe to other Hadoop systems, etc. So the first phase of implementing HANA, we got to bring in data first as per the scenarios agreed with that project. How we bring it is through these replicators. SLT and BODS, Business Objects Data Services. These two offer real-time replication services. So for those scenarios which are agreed for the pilot project or the greenfield project or the implementation or maybe the POC or test drive projects, we selectively replicate those data sets on a real-time basis through these replicators. SLT, that stands for SAP Landscape Transformation, and Data Services. These two are the primary replicators for HANA. We will learn in session number 3 about these two replicators in much more detail and be able to perform certain active extractions. We have other replicators available today, like the DXC, which is now incorporated in the data services. We have a new replication technique called SDA, Smart Data Access. And then, of course, direct flat file loads. We will learn those as we proceed in session 4 or 5. So in order to bring in data, we got to replicate. Replicate means extract. Now, there is a small little difference between replication and extraction. When a consultant or business user says replicate, It basically means two things. Number one is extract. Extract data, good, yep. And number two means get a copy of the source structure. So replicate or replication performs two basic activities. That is going to extract data from the tables from the sources, and not only the data but also the carbon copy of the structure of that table. So we may have 50 fields in there with different data types with multiple lengths, primary keys and foreign keys, and not null constraints applied on those DB tables. So it's also going to copy those structure and those definition of the source tables or the respective provider, and then along with the structure get the data. So replication performs two basic activities. It's going to extract the data plus it's going to bring in the source details, structure details. So maybe you have a product ID or a product number which is defined as a string with 21 length at the source. We need that information in HANA as well. So we can align the data types and the length. We may increase or decrease the length as per the business requirements in HANA during the replication activity. So in HANA, we not use extraction as a term. We don't use the term extract data. In other data warehousing systems, we use the terminology extract data. But here, we generally use this terminology called replicate. So replicate will perform extract data plus get a copy so we can align and run the mapping of the fields. That's why you see here real-time replication services. It does not indicate real-time extraction services. Yeah, that's the inside detail. Now, once we replicate the data sets through these replicators, data is now available in HANA. And we see here in-memory computing engine, this is the processing layer after data gets replicated into HANA. In here, in the processing layer, we have got two major compartments, a planning, calculation planning engine, and then there is a row and a column storage. The story behind these two compartments is to enable the computing of those replicated data sets. Computing in a way that which is required at the top layer, these two, design and reporting layers. Let's take an example. There's a business user who wants to run certain financial reporting and would like to perform a consolidation of their actuals and the planned data. Yeah, it could be actual KPIs with the planned KPIs. Now, if we compare with other analytics systems, there is only one engine that does both these two activities, and that is the relational engine in other data warehousing systems or other DB systems. The relational engines will be able to perform these two together, but here in HANA, we split the relational engine into two halves, one only dedicated for calculations of the actuals and the other for planning, because we've got so many planning tools today. It could be from SAP, it could be custom built, it could be non-SAP other products. Maybe we use BPC, or you have IP, or maybe .NET custom applications. So the relational engine is split into two halves here, a calculation planning engine And then the other computing compartment is the row and column storage. This is interesting here. Let's take another example that a user wants to check the historical result of the gross revenue and compare that with the individual sales of that fiscal period per distribution channel, for example. So the user basically is looking for both the historical and the real-time data together, both the hot data and the cold data together. Now, here in the row and column storage, this is another good feature about HANA, is it splits the data based upon the category of the data. How it splits, we will learn tomorrow in our next session. Row storage will hold on real time all the line item details. What we mean here is all the granular details. For example, invoice number, document number, receipt numbers, all of those granular details. And the column storage will hold or contain the aggregated or the summarized details. So if the user is looking for both the line item details coming in from real time and the summarized details for the past 3 years total sales, it will be picking up those data sets from the column store. So in other database systems and other analytic systems, these two are one together, again in relational engine. Here in HANA, it's separate compartment altogether. So based upon the category of the data, it splits and stores on the runtime. This is well organized, and if you're a data scientist or a database consultant, you'll be able to appreciate these various engines and compartments, which is only dedicated for performing certain activities as per the business requirements and storing the data and retrieving the data on runtime. We have also other engines like OLAP engines, join engines, all in here together. We will learn in further details in our next session tomorrow. What we see here in the processing layer is the in-memory computing engine, which implies that this is the primary engine for computing all of those replicated data, basically processing the data here in this layer. That's why we call this layer as the data processing layer. It all happens on RAM, nothing on the disk. The RAM is the new disk. There's no spinning disk here anymore. It's a special kind of a RAM, and it's able to persist the data permanently. If there is a power outage, it's still able to render and make the data available. Also high availability and other details we'll discuss with save points, etc. Once the data is processed, and then they're available in something called schemas in HANA, then we are ready for data modeling. But before we go into data modeling layer, what is a schema in HANA? A schema in HANA is a database folder, just like we have a folder with details in there. For example, in C drive and D drive and My Documents folders, you make those files available in those folders. Likewise, in a database, the schema of HANA offers a database folder. Just like a kind of a box where we store database tables and other database objects. Okay? The schema is not the data warehousing schema. It does not mean the star schema or extended star schema or snowflake schema of data warehousing. The schema here in the database means a database folder where we store tables and views and other database objects. Tomorrow, we will be able to learn about the different types of schemas. The schema is a database folder, and that's where you're going to find tables. So if you have a sales scenario, you're going to have a sales schema. If you have a financial scenario, for example, if you're right on the right side, your financial tables, the financial KPIs, you're going to have another financial schema. We're going to merge these two schemas together and build data models. All right. So once the data processing is conducted, completed, and compiled, and ready and available in the schemas, then we pick up those schemas into the HANA Modeling Studio, get those tables and views from the respective schemas, scenarios, and build data models. So this layer next on top is the data modeling layer. We're going to design package, we can create those, and then have multiple views available there in the package. And the package will have the views, and views will be connected to the schema tables. For sales, connecting with financials, for logistics, connecting with the supply chain, etc. So HANA Studio is the primary interface for the user to build data models. Also, the HANA Studio is also the primary interface for administrators and basis consultants for running backup, recovery, running diagnosis, and creating various services, starting, shutting down HANA system, starting missing services for the server, working with the port numbers, and various other diagnoses. Even security authorization done here in the studio. The studio offers the primary interface. So once all the data models are built, they are validated and then activated and available for deployment, meaning they're available ready for reporting. So from the studio views, we have the reporting layer on top. Here in this reporting layer, we can connect a business objects, which is primarily recommended. But if a user is already working with other reporting tools, we can also connect those reporting tools. Maybe ClickView, MicroStrategy, Microsoft Excel, Crystal Reports, or even the Bob J tools. So there is no hard and fast rule that we have to work on this tool for running reporting on HANA. It's open for the user. Towards session number 7, 8, or 9, we will be able to reach here at the reporting layer. It will be complete full cycle activity that we're going to learn in this program, all the way from the source to the replication extraction, to the processing, to the design, and then to the reporting. Of course, plus with security, plus with the other details. There's also a very common interview question to explain the layers of the architecture of HANA. Okay, and the slide follows with the customer names. So you have Medidata, non-SAP from the CPG sector, then BASF. Then we have Centrica, first company to implement the RDS for HANA. It's called Smart Meter Analytics, SMA. T-Mobile. Kendi Ventures, non-SAP. They implemented SAP for the first time. Likewise, NRI, Neruma Research Institute in Tokyo, Japan. The first SAP product they implemented was HANA. And likewise, the customer list follows. Next slide. Yeah. Here, you have Red Bull, the first customer. If you look at the right-hand corner, Red Bull is the first customer to run their BW application on the HANA database. Innogence on the upper left-hand middle section. Innogence from Australia. Now it is NTT Data. The first client customer consulting firm to implement the ERP on HANA in that region. British Petroleum have run selective HANA scenarios, COPA Accelerator. Connecting the system. Check audio check. Yeah. Okay, so next we're going to connect into the system and open the studio here. Let's start here with the HANA Studio. Just hold on, check. Okay, so here in this HANA Studio, the landing page, this is the primary interface for the user. And we start from this option, the file drop-down menu. So if you look at the left-hand upper corner in the file drop-down menu, you have here open file, close file, etc. What is important here is the import and export, these two links. The import export is for running transports in HANA. We'll learn what is a transport, how we do it, what are the types, and what are the steps. If we go here into the properties, click, you'll be able to see the system properties, for example, the DB user, any additional properties for that host which are connected. In our training environment, we have this host, HANA SP8, which is connected from port number 15. We'll learn those ports as we proceed with our administration session next week. If you go here into the license, it's going to give us the license detail, the type of the license. Now, here, for the training, we have a temporary license. You'll also find a lot of customers using temporary license. And you have customers with expert developer license in the temporary license category, production license, test T&D license, test and development license with non-production. So there are multiple license types. So when you work with the customer, just check what is license type. And the condition that we have to remember here, that if license type equals temporary license, then in those cases, the upgrade not possible. So if you have a customer who's asking, hey, we want to go for an upgrade next year into the next support pack, 9, 10, whichever comes next year, or we want to run an upgrade from SP6 to SP8, can you run the assessment, for example? So as a trained HANA consultant, maybe you are a developer, maybe you are a report writer, maybe you are an administrator. This is where you're going to come here and check the license type. Make sure that the customer is using a permanent license if they intend to go for upgrade. If it is a temporary license, upgrade not possible. All right, this is the place where we got to check. Now, the option to renew the license is conducted in the service marketplace. You have to contact the administrator of the SAP account team, where the customer will buy the license and renew it there in the SMP. And then as a basis, you can download the license keys and install it here. Plus, you will be able to see the hardware key for the license and system ID used here for training purpose. Right? So that gives the property of the system in here on to this option file drop-down menu. Okay. Next here, edit is the cut, copy, paste. Navigate to move forward, move next. Project is for creating a project and then working with multiple developments. Window here. First link is a new window, and it allows the user to work with multiple sessions or multiple windows. So maybe you're a developer consultant and you also have the authorization to perform certain transports, certain administrative tasks. So if you want to work with multiple sessions, this is where you're going to click here, and it will open another HANA Studio, another window, and in the next session you can work with a object transport. In the other session you can work with the development activation example. Best practice, work with a single window, work with a single session to maintain consistency of your developments. That is the best practice. However, system offers to allow the user to work with multiple sessions. Next, edit editor. This is for the SQL option. Hide the toolbar. Open perspective. Now, a perspective in the HANA Studio implies a sub-application. A sub-application here could be for SAP HANA development, or for the data modeling, or you can open other perspectives. Perspectives like a debug, Java, Java browsing, Java scripting are all for web developments with JDK. If you're a Java programmer and you want to develop your own custom portal on the internet browser and connect that with HANA, that is possible through JS, JSON, and Java scripting through XML parsing. There's also an option to go with the plugin developments. For example, if there's a need to connect with the ABAP on HANA, you can use the plugin development, user's perspective, connect the AS NetWeaver 740 ABAP on HANA, and then once you connect, then you will be also able to see the plugin of the ABAP on HANA. If you are an ABAPer or an ABAP developer, ABAP programmer, there is also a new scope in learning HANA and working with HANA ABAP developments for HANA Live, ERP HANA, BW HANA, with SLT HANA, and direct ABAP on HANA through ABAP interfaces. The next sub-application is the resource. In some cases that you want to share some resources with your core team, you can post or upload those files into the HANA server, and the user can go in here in the resource and download those files. Text files, command files, control files, or other library details. By default, the administration console is the sub-application whenever you open HANA Studio for the first time. So maybe some of you who already received the system access, who already got the system access, when you open HANA Studio, you'll find Administration Console and not the Quick Launch. That is because the Administration Console is the default sub-application of the HANA Studio interface. Later, you can customize the perspectives and close the Administration Console if you're a developer and open the modular with a Quick Launch. HANA Development for custom coding with Java scripting. HANA Modeler for data modeling. So this is the primary perspective or the primary sub-application of the Studio that we'll be working on for all data modeling. Then next one here, Plan Visualize. We will come back here. This will help us to identify if our data models that we developed and activated and ready for deployment, is it expensive in design? Or is it not optimized? So if you want to visualize the plan of how the view is getting executed, and if you want to look at the expensive statements, or if you want to look at the steps being processed in the back end, you can go in here. There's also other shortcuts to come back to this perspectives. Team synchronization is working with the central repositories, web development, and XML parsing. So out of all these perspectives, majority of the implementation, we work with the HANA modeler for data modeling and the administration console for administrative tasks. So here in the landing page we have the SAP HANA modeler perspective already open. So if you look at the right and upper corner, you find that perspective clicked. You also have other perspectives that you can open it from here as well. So if you want to open the administration console, you can click on this particular small tiny icon in front, and we are here at the pop-up screen. Then you can switch over, select the perspective, click, select, click OK. Yeah, and then we have the other perspective. So you can also switch over from one perspective to the other from this upper right-hand corner, embedded tabs. Let's close this Java thing. Yeah. So we were at the window at this particular option for the menu bar. Check audio check. Yeah, we lost connection, but now we are back. It's quite possible that it could happen because we're all connected from multiple locations from the globe. Connected from Southeast Asia, and I'm connecting through another network, which is there in the US, and then it could possibly happen, and we may have some interruptions because it is a online thing, and there are things that which are beyond our control, and that is through the service provider, network bandwidth, and the locations. Okay, so we're back here into the studio. We were in this particular option where we were looking into the window. If you can see the screen. Yep. So we were looking at new window option, open perspective, and we're looking at the options to switch over from one perspective to the other. And if you scroll down here below, there are other perspective options that you can customize or save and create a new perspective, reset or close perspectives likewise. And one of the options here is the preferences. The preferences option allows a user to customize the screen locally for that user ID. So if I'm a user A and I want to change the theme of this appearance of the studio, I can click in here, general appearance, colors, and fonts. I can change the theme and other decorations that I can do here locally for that user. So any changes in the preferences is local to that user and will not be a global effect on other users. Next, we move here into Help, the last option in the menu bar. And the first item here is Welcome. So if we click here, Welcome, and it's going to open up a kind of an embedded browser screen that allows the complete access to multiple perspectives through the links given here. So if you put the mouse pointer on top, then you'll be able to go into those links and click just like you would do in a web browser. So just click on the modeler, we redirect it to the modeler. Okay, so that's the welcome page. Then we have help contents, search, dynamic help, SAP help portal. And this will be able to go and redirect into the help.sap.com /HANA page. Will open in your web browser in that local computer. If you're new to the SAP, you can go for SAP for Industries link here and click. Or you can discover the other links, for example, SAP Best Practices, Cloud, Analytics, Technology, Mobile Solutions, Database Systems, for example. We've clicked on SAP for Industries here. And if you're looking for a particular industry sector, you can scroll down in here on the left-hand side of the screen and then select that particular sector. Yeah? We have one of the consultant from yesterday's demo that you're from a telecom industry. So you're going to click here, SAP for telecommunications. And it's going to show us the detail about what are the end-to-end solutions that are available from an application solution and services standpoint from SAP in telecommunications. Other releases and technical reference guide, master guide, reference guides available for free download from here. So you can also independently look up for this particular web page, help.sap.com /HANA. Now, If you also want to go back to the studio and open the help page from the HANA Studio, this is where we're going to go into the studio interface. And then when you go in there, you have an option to click on to the right hand side. I believe the screen should get refreshed. Now, yeah. So to the right hand side lower corner, we have this link. If you can have a look here, help documentation to the right hand side corner of the HANA Studio Quick Launch. Yeah. So the documentation link, if you click, will open the same help.sap.com/HANA here in the studio, embedded in the studio. So you can still be looking into the reference guide details, the technical operations manual in one of the tabs in the studio here, and you can switch over to the next tab here and continue to align your developments from the help page. Yep, this is an option. Please explore with your system access. Let's go back to the quick launch. The quick launch is the primary screen that allows a user to launch or create a new view or a new data model, respectively, for their package and perform activities for data modeling, transports, etc. Okay, so let's switch over to quick launch. Yeah. Okay, so once we are here, onto the left-hand side, it will give us the details about the folders that are part of that system ID. If you can have a look on the left-hand box, or left-hand side of the screen. Yep, so this is the navigator panel. And from here, the user can navigate to multiple areas, like a catalog schema with tables, views, data model, package, etc. As we proceed with the training program, we'll be able to investigate further details about each one of these packages, views, existing definitions, and then create our own objects based upon our project outline that we have for the training purposes. So I'm going to open the Excel spreadsheet that will help us get an idea about what is coming up by the middle of this week or by the end of this week for the data modeling with a simulated POC project that we will all learn. And let's pull up the Excel file here quickly. So all the PPT slideshows, PDF, Word documents, or any Excel files that we share on the screen will be available to all of you as your reference material. So here in this Excel spreadsheet, what we've created here is for a customer retail company in the consumer products. And they want to run a sales analytics scenario, and they have an SAP ERP source system, the OLTP source system, and they want the following deliverables. There are 6 deliverables if you can look at column C. The first deliverable is to create a sales and profitability analytics with a combination view from sales and from COPA, which is the profitability analysis, and then get the contribution margin, revenue, deductions, etc. And then we have that consolidated, unified views available for reporting. That's the first deliverable. The next one is the SNA, security authorizations, and this will be required for any security consultant or a HANA consultant working with the administration deliverables to create multiple users that are going live with that project. It could be a developer user, it could be a reporting user, it could be an end user. So we should be in a position to be able to create user types, user groups based upon the user authorization metrics. So in the next worksheet here, I've created a small authorization matrix for all the basis consultants, senior consultants, application consultants, and security team who would like to have a template for your projects or for your demos or for your implementation on the template and how we create the user authorization matrix. So we got users, user types, and the corresponding roles that are associated with those users. It could be a standard role, it could be a composer role that we define, and those 5 categories of privileges available in HANA. So it's a technical document which offers the outline of the project, and that will also give a upper hand apart from learning HANA academics, definitions, what is a package, what is a view, how you built it, what are the subtypes and how you create, what are the other development steps. Apart from those syllabus academic details, we will also be able to go beyond and learn on the project deliverables. Yep. So we will also be sharing the documents in the upcoming sessions. All right. So this is what we have here for tonight. We are now open for questions and answers. You can use the questions box or click on raise hand, and then the organizer will be able to unmute you, and then we can discuss questions and answers. Yeah, say it.
Yeah, the first question is basically, you know, when we are talking about schemas, are we going to be developing schemas, tables, or new database, or basically work on the project and just pull the data out of ERP?
We are yet to learn about the multiple types of schemas. So one of the type of the schema is a user-defined schema. So when your user ID is created, your schema is also created. You can start developing on that schema. Now there are other standard schemas as well that we will also pick up from those. And then there are SLT schemas. When you run SLT replication activities, those schemas are also created from the SAP source. So there are 3 types of schemas. A user-defined schema that you can create your own schema, and then you can build your own tables and views in there and develop the packages and views afterwards. Or we use a standard schema, or we use the SLT schema from SLT source for application. So we will be performing all of those 3 activities and not just focus on the project side. So first we look into the academics, details, terminologies, understand the basics, and then proceed forward with our custom developments.
Okay, the second question is about, you know, when we are talking about like SD, FI, different type of schemas, when you do the modeling, are you going to be able to integrate these when you're creating a model?
Absolutely, yes. We will be able to integrate, unify, and there are multiple other options through calculation views and work with the multiple schemas, and not only the schemas, but multiple packages. So we may have a package coming in from SD schema, we may have a package coming from FI schema, and cross packages, multiple packages, we may be creating another supply chain management package, combining these schemas and packages together into one, and then build the views for reporting thereafter.
Okay, just the last question is, when we go into the perspectives, we see in a lot of different ones like Java and ABAP. Do we need to have, because, you know, I mean, I don't know Java, so ABAP, I have exposure, so do we need to know all these? Do we need to know Java and all that?
No, that is for the web developers. So HANA has something for everybody, whether I'm a programmer, web developer, security consultant, report writer, or a data warehousing, data modeling consultant, or maybe an application function consultant. So it's a quite a larger box with different compartment for different users from different skill sets. The Java option, Java scripting, JSON, Java scripting, is for the Java programmers who intend to create their own web pages and connect it onto HANA. So Java is not a compulsory skill set. However, I'll give you the basics if you may need to assist your Java developers to create custom portals.
But this training is more focused on modeling, right? That will be the main thing, right?
Yeah, it will be focused both on modeling and reporting and security, transport administration, and also replication. So
Okay.
it's for all of those components.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then let's go into the next question from, let's check. Okay, I have here Urban, yeah.
Two questions.
Urban?
Yeah. Hi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah. Actually, I have two questions. Just taking a leaf out of the earlier discussions which you had with my other persons in the session, that you are talking about schemas, right? The schemas is basically what I have faintly understood is basically a combination of tables. Is it application specific? For example, FI, ST, MM schema, something of that sort?
Oh, sorry. So a schema is kind of a database folder. That's where we start from. And a schema can have, for example, let's say you have a application-specific tables. Let's say there is a sales scenario, so you want to probably group all the sales table together into one sales folder. Make sense?
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that. So we can create those kind of schemas for application-specific, or use standard schemas, or work with the SLT schema, which can have multiple sales, distribution, or financial, inventory, plant maintenance. So you can bring in all those together into one ERP schema. So it's not a mandatory rule that we have to have an application-specific schema. A schema could be all clubbed together once we perform schema mapping, and we can merge all of those together into one and have an overall project schema.
Okay. One other questions which I have is this. It's a very generic type of a questions, which may be what exactly you feel, because you might have some visibility in this regard. What exactly you feel is the difference between HANA and Hadoop? Means both are serving almost the similar purposes, but what means what you think is the difference it can have?
Well, HANA is, let's go into another screen. Let's go here, if you can see the screen. 1, 2, believe. Okay, so Hadoop or MongoDB or etc. In this space, they're also big data providers, but they're more focused on unstructured big data sources, unstructured. Now this is a database term, unstructured, structured, etc. So unstructured data source means all the comments that we post maybe on the Facebook, whether we like it or we do not like it, or any other sentiments, or maybe machine level data, which are all unstructured, maybe in different formats, maybe in the database format, text format, or operating system file format, which are all unstructured, are all processed, stored, and compiled in Hadoop and MongoDB, and likewise big data systems. And in order to perform reporting on top of these unstructured, you have to first convert the unstructured to a structured source, and then we can run the reports on top of it. So the difference between Hadoop, MongoDB, or likewise with HANA, is the type of the data. Both supports big data, both supports the larger data sets with different varieties of info sets, and then yeah, the difference here between Hadoop and HANA is Hadoop offers unstructured big data and HANA offers the structured. So the conversion between an unstructured structure is happening through the replication when you replicate data from Hadoop to HANA, make it structured, and then we make it available for reporting. So there are connections available between Hadoop and HANA through bots, B-O-D-S, and then perform a unstructured source, the replication into HANA, make it structured to the views and schemas and respective packages, and then deploy those views and data models for reporting. Both offers big data. Difference is the type of the data.
Okay. Okay, one more thing. As I can, if you can kindly go back to the screen, means for example that HANA screens, packages and all this. Yeah, yeah. Means before starting the development, do I need to create a package and then subsequently for other thing fall into place?
Yeah. Before you start the package, we have to start with the replication. So we're going step by step. Today being the first session, I'm just giving you everybody an overview. Okay. Then tomorrow we will learn about the database architecture, process flow, and then start with a heads up on how we perform replication. Before we work in HANA, we have to first acquire the data into HANA, meaning bring the data into HANA through replication services. So we're going to go into SLT and the bots to bring in data. We will also perform flat file loads, right? And then once we bring the data, then we start creating packages, views, and based upon the type of the data set that we want to bring in, we have these views available. So we will go step by step, and I'll be showing all of those in a particular sequence. Yeah. Okay, I hope your answer that answers the question, Arpan.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to Vijit.
So sometimes back, I was working on some OData service creation, and that was on Eclipse. Now this HANA modeler, it seems like it's based on Eclipse, like it's kind of a customized version of Eclipse. Can you explain if my understanding is right, or it's a complete different tool from that perspective? So, for example, can we make OData perspectives out here?
All right. So now, from a interface perspective, the HANA Studio is an Eclipse form. So if you go here into Help and go here About HANA Studio, it will give you the details about the HANA Studio, and then you have Eclipse here, Eclipse Modeling Project. Click here, and you have Eclipse components and Apache components and Java components and XML components. So the HANA Studio is built around the Eclipse to allow the user to work with HANA. Likewise, Eclipse is a common platform for HANA Studio and for other developments like OData services, other developments like Java development, or maybe if you want to create a mobile app, we also use Eclipse. So Eclipse is the interface from the Apache Eclipse together, and SAP has also collaborated with Eclipse to give a development interface from this format, from this Eclipse format, so that the user can develop, design views likewise. So your observation is correct that HANA Studio is built on and around the Eclipse. And the next part of your question is if you want to have OData services or other project development, answer is possible and yes.
Okay, so as long as you get the right development toolkits and those kind of stuff, if you want to do something on SAP UI5, so as long as you import the SDK, you can just use the HANA modeler for everything.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so this is what I just wanted to understand, because when I installed the Eclipse version, like as per the SAP test version, trial version, it also had something for HANA modeling, like the Eclipse Juno version that that's on the SAP trial. They have this HANA modeling as well. As a perspective over there. So.
Yep, yep. So that's a correct observation. It's just like having a common editor, and then you can develop multiple applications. So HANA Studio, Eclipse, they're all on the same platform. It is the Eclipse platform, and then supported by Apache Software Foundations, and also supported by SAP NetWeaver. So therefore, as far as you have the right SDK, the right development kit, you can develop UI5, HTML5, Java development, or mobile apps development, connect with HANA. Likewise, you can share the resources.
I understand. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, then let's move on to the next question in the question box. I have here from Saifuddin, do we need SAP logon pad anymore? Well, for HANA Studio, we not use the logon pad. We use this HANA Studio as the interface. The logon pad is for SAP other application servers. So for example, if you allow me to directly draw on the screen, we're going to have a application server. Just hold on. Okay, this is an application server, and the application server would require a database. So database here, which will be HANA DB platform, both for the write and the read intensive activities. Yeah. So for all these application for SAP ERP, BW, CRM, SRM, GRC, MDG, MDM, etc., we use the logon pad to log on into that application server. And for logging on into HANA, we use the HANA Studio directly. So for working on HANA Studio, on HANA, we use the Studio and not the logon pad. Now let's go into the next from Shrikant. Shrikant, you got a question?
Hey, hi, good morning. I just want to know that from security point of view, what would be this training helpful from security point of view?
Okay, so for security consultants, first thing is the authorization matrix. Authorization matrix, if I can just put you on hold. Yeah. So authorization matrix, which is required based upon the type of the user. So the first point for a security consultant is this matrix on the type of the user. So based upon the type of the user, we define the type of the privilege in HANA. If it is a developer user, then we got to provide the system privilege and package privilege. Likewise, the rest of the other privileges. So this is in user management and roles management, the first part. This training will help a security consultant. The next part is how we integrate the users running single sign-on with other applications. Let's take an example that there is a user here. Let me directly write in here on this spreadsheet. Let's take an example. There is user 1, and this user 1 exists in SAP or other systems, and this user would like to integrate with HANA. How do you do that here for the same user 1 with the SSO? So this is the second point for a security consultant. The user integration with SSO, single sign-on, is done through Bob JCMC enterprise type of user. So in the later part of the training, maybe next week, we'll be able to see how we perform user management, role management, and single sign-on. And then the security authorizations working with different types of roles, standard roles, custom roles, composite roles. And then plus, to troubleshoot, if a user sends us a notification that, hey, I'm not able to run this report, am I missing any authorization? So we have to first investigate at the reporting user authorization, then we go back to the application authorization, and then finally we drill down to the database object level authorization, which we'll be able to troubleshoot those. So these are the primary learning points for a security consultant. So let's come back to Shrikant. Does that answer your question, Shrikant?
Yeah. Actually, I'm muted. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Is this similar like a GRC and everything can be embedded for this HANA and everything?
The GRC is embedded through a new component from MDM called MDG, and it is directly integrated with IDM of SAP for mass user creation and transport of the mass users and roles. So we will also discuss that in additional topic on those additional areas. But the answer is yes, it is compatible with the GRC, MDG, IDM, and other NetWeaver components, including Solution Manager.
Okay. What I mean to say is like GRC can be integrated for BI and BW, but there are no rule set for them, like to check the risk analysis. So something like similarly to HANA also, it's only the integration can be done, or something rule sets has been built by SAP.
Yeah, from a GRC standpoint, there are rule sets through library functions that are already been built. And if you use the older version GRC directly with the BWBI, it does not have those rule sets. But in HANA, for HANA, there are rule sets being predefined for GRC and for the rest of the other SAP Business Suite, ERP, BW, EPM systems, etc. And plus, if you want to create a integration between a GRC user with a HANA user, which also coexists in the BOPJ as an end user reporting, we will also see how we do that in the CMC next week. So even for a security consultant, yep, it is important that if the user says that I'm trying to validate this view, we should be in a position what that view is all about, whether it is an attribute view, an analytic calculation view, so that we can understand what is required to activate the view and if there are any missing authorizations or conflicting authorizations on that user account or profile or through that external user whenever you run single sign-on. Plus, there are multiple user types in HANA. For example, Kerberos user, SAML user, X509 user, SAP Ticket Assessment user 1 and 2, and of course the DB Database HANA user. So we will see and learn to create those user and understand the difference between these user types, when to use which type of user next week.
Okay, thank you, Param.
Let's move on to Rao. You're connected from telephone, and I think the PIN code has been sent. Rao?
Yes, I can you hear me, Param?
Yeah.
Good. Hey, thanks, Param, for all the information, and I have one couple of things that I would like to get in touch with you. And is this still the traditional databases, and then HANA? Do they coexist? It means, are there any clients or companies that are using the traditional database and HANA in parallel, so that the data can move back and forth between the HANA and then databases?
Yeah, the answer is yes, and that is called sidecar approach.
Okay.
So the sidecar approach or the side-by-side approach will have the traditional database system connected to an application and thereafter the reporting. And then there is also a parallel connection between the traditional XDB with a HANA DB to leverage both the traditional system and the HANA and then perform the reporting and thereafter. So the sidecar approaches are implemented by those customers and by those scenarios when we want to check and run a comparative performance analysis between a traditional DB for that scenario and the HANA DB for that scenario. So a lot of customers also perform native test drives, but they also run sidecar to check and to migrate so that we can slowly phase out the older ecosystem after we completely test drive the sidecar and then move on with the newer approach on HANA.
Okay.
So it's called side-by-side or sidecar approach. As a nickname, we call it as Project Orange as SAP consultants. Project Orange.
Okay. Okay. And also, in Param, I saw somewhere that there is a backup aspect for the HANA. What does that backup means? Because this is all a RAM, right? So when the backup was taken, where will the backup goes to? I mean, because this is a RAM, right?
Yep, yep. So that's a good observation. Now, RAM is the new disk, first thing. And even in the RAM, in the main memory module, we have backup compartments. So there are 3 backups that we can run. One is the data backup. And number 2 is the log backup, and the third is the config backup. So these are the 3 backup components that are executed whenever you run a backup in HANA. Although it is a RAM, there is a compartment in the RAM that acts and stores these backup files just in case if there is any earthquake or if there is any data center that is down and you want to recover from another data center. So the server itself, the appliance itself, has a backup containers for these 3 types of backup, for the data and the log and redo log, change logs, and for the manual configurations. It stores in itself, which is further transferred to another data center with synchronous mirroring, RAID technology, and other backup plans, so that whenever there's a need for recovery, we can also recover from another data center, maybe from the cloud, maybe from itself, or maybe from another node of the enterprise, this DSL, distributed system landscaping environment. So backup exists, although it is in HANA, it still exists in HANA for further high availability of the system.
Awesome. That's a good concept. And also, Param, since with it's now initially when we started with this session 1, you mentioned this is more of a hardware analytic. Now, with all the design studio and all these things, can we call this as a blend of hardware and software? Is that the right way to say?
It is now we can come to that phase that we can combine OLAP and OLTP together in one box and run EPM, EDW, EIM, ECM, all of this together from one box. So with the help of the new tools, new dimension products for reporting, Design Studio, Lumira, Predictive Analytics, and with HANA together, ERP on HANA, the GRC running on HANA, and then the BWPI, BOPJ running on HANA with multiple OLTP systems combined together in one box, we can now call it as all-in-one in the single framework.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And lastly, Parma, you mentioned you worked in SAP Labs. Just it's nothing to do with our course content. It's just a general thing. I mean, which location of the labs did you work? In Germany or in US or in other labs?
Yeah, I have been working in the labs for quite some time. as a independent consultant for advisory services and for auditing and test development, beta testing in SAP Labs India, SAP Labs in Germany, in France, in Korea, and in North America. So I've been traveling all these places. We have a small team of the innovation platform team, and I have been working with those guys for developing new dimension products. I also have my own firm with my old associate partners from other big four consulting firms, that we also give advisory services, auditing services from a technical development standpoint. So I've been working with these multiple locations, SAP Labs and SAP AG GDC Center in Waldorf in Germany.
Mm-hmm. So it seems you're there, you're everywhere.
Now I'm connecting from another client place from Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
So yeah, it will help us because we've been conducting the past 52 batches. The reason why we also require the industrial knowledge is because today a lot of customers not only ask us direct questions in the interviews. They don't ask what is an attribute view, analytic view anymore. They will ask how, where, best practice, and what if things fail, what to do, in those kind of scenario-based questions. So it will help us that I will be sharing some industrial inputs, development inputs, best practices, customization, enhancements, troubleshooting, error management, and further development and advanced modeling apart from the SAP academics in this program.
Sure. In one of the, so let me ask you this one last thing. I mean, one of the projects I was involved in, the initial development was done using the Bob J 4.1 and a BW 7.4, I guess, on a traditional database. And with so much of transactional data that the customers are feeling, uncomfortable, because in the mainframe system in which they used to run, their reports used to run fast. So what the management has decided is to move on to the HANA just only for the database part. And then we were given this great task to compare these reports running on both HANA and non-HANA. That includes bringing up the report, loading the LOVs, executing the reports, and exporting the reports into the Excel. And to our surprise, some of the things are not much of a difference between the traditional database and then HANA. And in some instances, there is some difference, not as much as that expected. So is there any reason? The one thing that I'm thinking about is because we transported or moved all the development of the modeling that is done on the BW side onto the HANA, and that's where it is not giving much of an advantage. But if the modeling was done using the what I would say is HANA Studio, would it make a difference?
Yeah. The first factor that whenever you run any performance comparison between 2 or 3 or more systems, there are multiple factors which have to be included. Number one is the complexity of the data sets.
Mm-hmm.
Then the volume of the data sets.
Mm-hmm.
And then the format of the data set from where it's coming from. So these three factors will decide the performance comparison analytics that whenever you run from a traditional DB compare with HANA, or you try to compare HANA with other reporting systems. So there is a SAP document that that gives us the comparative performance in terms of performance between a non-HANA and a HANA based tables. So I have this ERP document, PDF document.
Sure.
In some cases, it is able to give us a very fast performance comparison. This is being developed by SAP for their reference, and they have picked up 6 standard reports that are generally executed in the SAP ERP in their transaction systems. So here in the first case, the next slide, yeah, in the first case you have the accounts receivable items. What we see here is on the left-hand side is the Bob J with HANA, where you have the data sets which are being directly copied and merged into HANA. And then to the right-hand side is the FIAR report. So what we see here is not much of a difference. If you look at the exact number of rows, records is 1.8 million, and the runtime is 7 seconds, and the other is 255 seconds. So it's not much of a difference. This is because of the primary first factor, which is the complexity of the data. So if this is a less or a medium complexity, we can still continue to leverage the traditional system in a sidecar approach. And for a higher complexity, if you move to the next slide, number 3, in this case, we have a SO sales order for all the customers. If you can maximize the screen, yeah. So for all the customers and materials with the PO number, so we're going to get from the procurement department, PO, PR, for those materials that have been procured and for these materials to be sold to the party for the customers. Right. And the date range from 3 years from 2008 to 11, so we're looking at around about 3 million rows. What we have is a very big difference, because factor 2, the volume of data and the complexity, of course. So we have to the right-hand side, got to wait for 14 minutes, and it come back with a short dump that CRs a disk failure because of the runtime. And this is from a traditional DB, but if you move that onto the left-hand side, onto HANA, we're able to run 3.7 million rows within 13 seconds. So again, this is a comparison. So it depends with a lot of factor, volume, complexity, and the format from where data originates. Document will be available tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for your clarification.
Okay, so then we move on to Sayed. Sayed Razvi.
Just a quick question. You mentioned about, you didn't mention, I'm just curious, do you have to have like a functional knowledge of SAP modules in order to work with HANA? And just I will just add the other question is, you mentioned you have your own firm. Do you do placement of consultants, who successfully complete this course or whatever? That's it.
Okay, so the first part of the question is, do we need SAP awareness? The answer is not really, because SAP module with the ERP here. So it's not really, because HANA connects to a lot of non-SAP legacy systems like mainframe systems, Teradata systems, other big data systems, machine level data, flat files, and a lot of other SAP, non-SAP together. So we may be working into a project where the source is a non-SAP. So it's not a mandatory requirement that we have to be already aware about SAP modules in the ERP. It could be a functional which is generic to all ERP systems. Let's say buy and sell. We buy, we modify, we sell, for example. So for a buy and sell, it's not necessary it has to be SAP ERP knowledge. It could be something else. So a HANA consultant have to be aware of the generic scenarios and not specific to SAP ERP. Of course, if you're working with SAP ERP as a source, or you're running ERP or running on top of HANA, in those cases, we are expected to have some overview about the ERP modules and the tables that are associated. But it could be ERP combined with a non-SAP source system, other database SQL server. So it is not a primary factor for a consultant. However, depending upon the customer, depending upon the project, if you have an SAP ERP that has to run on HANA, it is expected that we should have a discovery about SAP modules. But if not really required. So the team will also give you the SAP ERP tables, which will help you in the near future if you have to work with SAP installation basis. And if not, then SAP ERP is not really required for HANA consultant.
But your POC project is based on the SAP ERP as the source, right? And just to repeat my last question, is like you say, you have your own firm. Do you place in North America like consultants who successfully complete your training, whatever? Do you help with those?
I will be able to help, but once after you are certified, because a lot of customers today are asking for certified consultants to be deployed at their client sites. But we can take these points offline, and I will be giving my mail ID to all. We can take this apart from the training sessions.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Then let's go to next thing. Urban, you have a question?
Yeah. Param, one small question. Param, what I can understand that in HANA, one of the most important imperatives is to have a sound BOBJ knowledge. So in the standpoint of a BI consultant as me, I have BOBJ knowledge, but to the extent, is it required, is it a mandatory that you have to have a BOBJ knowledge and then slide into HANA?
Well, it depends upon the career path that you like to advance into that area. For example, BOBJ with BI and then HANA. So in this program, what we intend to do is, with all these experiences that we've gathered from our previous training, a lot of consultants working with us together today, we will be primarily focusing on HANA in two parts. One is the application consulting, application consultant development, and the other is the administration for administrative areas. Then we will be bringing in SLT knowledge if we have to work with SLT replication for a client, and or if the customers have SAP and non-SAP together or non-SAP big data together, then we should have an awareness of BOBJ data services replicator. Then we go out of the HANA into the security authorization, which may have SSO implication with other systems that you may want to bring in an external user with SAP and then non-SAP again with HANA through BOBJ, etc. Then the BOBJ as a primary prescribed tool, whether you're looking at a universe or you're looking at tools for reporting. So this training program will cover all of these areas that today is expected from a solution architect that we may have to have bots, SLT, administration, HANA application development, transport data modeling, security authorization, SSO concepts, BOBJ reporting, universe concept, data science studio. So we cover all of this together in one packet, and then this is where we intend to learn in this program. So depending upon the requirements being projected today at the marketplace, we may have certain requirements that ask that you should be HANA consultant, plus you should have some BOBJ awareness or maybe experience. Although BOBJ is a separate training program, a separate certification course, likewise SLT is a separate training program, separate certification course, and likewise other tools, administration, etc. But we will touch upon these important points from a HANA standpoint and then from a development, implementation, delivery standpoint. So we have something from all of these areas, and then we can go into a better role than just being a developer.
Okay, and one small question, please, if you may permit. Is this, in an India perspective, means people who are working in India, is certification is something the clients are looking for if they are looking for a change in job or something?
Well, it's in India. It's everywhere that all customers, whether it is a Fortune 100, Fortune 500, Global 1000 customer, or if it is a consulting firm that you're working together for another client or consortium of consulting firms, everywhere they always look out for certified because HANA is a new tool. So there is no much of a extensive experiences so far. So they look out for a certified consultant, keeping in mind that they expect that certified consultant have what is required from an SAP HANA development standpoint, etc. So in India, in the rest of the world, it is certified consultant that they always look out for. So we also recommend certification from this program. So we take up this, and this is the right time to take up HANA and the certification because we don't have that much of an experience or experienced consultants as of yet because HANA is just 3 years old.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then let's move on to the next question in the question box. Yep. You can check the questions box. Okay, so earlier question, what's the difference between development and modeling perspective? From Sayed, development perspective is for the Java development and other software development kits, and then the modeling is for HANA data models. Next question from Shrikant about the duration of the course. Yeah, so we will be going through a 30 hours training. And it is a Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sundays are off. Monday through Friday in US time. So we will have a break for the weekend for Saturday and Sunday. Based upon your location, if you're in the eastern part of Asia, then it will be Sunday and Monday that you have an off. All right, so the weekends are off for your practice revision. We do come back on questions on Monday, the first half of the training. Training is for 2 hours and per session, per day, but depending upon the Q&A, we can extend up to 3 hours for that as far as your convenient. Moving on to next question from Saifuddin, fresher. Yeah, so for a fresher, it's good to basically have an overview about what SAP products are all about. So you can visit the help.sap.com/HANA, SAP for Industries. And it's good to learn HANA today because if you go for other ERP module certification, you have so many SD certified, FI certified, MM certified consultants and experienced consultants with over 10 years. So you'll not be able to compete with those guys because they're already 10 years, 15 years experience if you are a fresher from a fresher standpoint. But if you look into HANA and with HANA with the BWBI that we want to cover here today in this program, will help you to have a larger outlook and a higher possibility to go into the consulting and plus the reporting or development side as per your career path. So would recommend a combination of HANA, BobJ, and BI. If you're certified in HANA, then you can start working with the HANA data modeling as a HANA developer. They can slowly scale out to BobJ, predictive analysis, business reporting, and then also simultaneously learn industry knowledge. Next question, can we clear? Answer is yes. Please refer the testimonials of our previous participants. If you want me to open that slide or the link, you will have the testimonials available from all our previous participants who have cleared the certification examination and has given us the feedback about the training program and how it helped in clearing the certification. Okay. So if you want me to open the link, I have a screenshot. You can open the link separately in your browsers. So the page website is techetraining.com/testimonials. Click on HANA, and you'll have previous participants with their feedback after they are certified from this training program. We have the highest number of HANA certified consultants from this program, from this institute, and we also have highest number of consultants with 100% score in their HANA certification. We're still in touch with all of those. We'll be able to extend that network to you guys, and you can take it up for your advancement. Okay, page is techetraining.com/testimonials. Please also reach out to Kalyan or the number given here, and for your enrollment for system access. All right, so this is what we have here for session 1. We are going to close the session for tonight, for this morning, and we connect tomorrow at the same time at 9 p.m. EST or 7:30 a.m. IST if India time, and continue for session number 2. Tomorrow's session will be more about the database process flow and how different compartments work together, and then we start with the replication to understand SAP, and I will give you some special authorization areas which will allow you to see the business side of the technical ERP modules, which is not common for SAP consultants. So if you are new to SAP, that component will help us to get into the business side, how they are interconnected, what tables are associated, what if I don't know what is the company code, how do you find it? We don't have to go with multiple screens or multiple transaction codes. One T code, it answers all. That we will see tomorrow. And then basic configuration areas for administrators in SLT and bots, PODS. That's the agenda for session 2 tomorrow. Good night and bye for now. Have a great day. Have a good one. Connect tomorrow, same time. Bye-bye for now.